This is about athletes and mental health. Mental health has affected many people, including athletes. Athletes are a genre of people who cannot fully express themselves outside of the sport. Since they're an athlete, they feel like they have to hide their emotions, depression, and anxiety, which is never the case. Mental illness is seen as unusual in athletes. The stigma that comes with mental illness for athletes is that if they are dealing with something, that they are seen as weak. Athletes are supposed to be mentally tough, and at times that is mistaken for mental illness. Mental toughness is a measure of an individual's resilience and confidence in their sport. Being able to have the mind strength to do practice, hard drills, and games is mental toughness. What's mistaken for is mental health. Mental health is more emotional, and a wide range of conditions that feel and affect the mood, thinking, and behavior. This has nothing to do with the physical aspect of the sport. When an athlete speaks about their mental health, consequences can arise. For more professionals, they can either be seen as crazy, a liability for their teammates, and for some cases, they could lose their contract in their sport. An athlete's reputation plays a big role in one's career, and being seen as weak or crazy by the public is something no one wants. Protecting your reputation because of a stigma causes athletes to hold in their problems and feel that they're alone. Since they're struggling with something, they're seen as weak, which they're not weak. As of today, athletes are slowly starting to speak out on their stories dealing with anxiety and depression, with hopes more will eventually feel strong enough to speak their minds and what they've been dealing with. A few current and past players in the NFL and NBA have started sharing their stories from tough times. Joe Barksdale is a current NFL player who has been battling with depression for most of his life. He even attempted suicide numerous of times, but God had a different plan for him. Barksdale's emotions were kept inside of him because of the fear of being looked at as crazy by friends, teammates, and family. For his family, his daughter and mother, he decided he had to get help. He started seeing somebody, and at the end, he got so much better and has a goal of letting people know that death should never be the option. Another athlete is Kevin Love, who was a current player for the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA. He recently started having panic attacks. Love was suffering in silence because growing up he was told to be a man. Today, many boys are told by their dads or family to act like a man, and that means to many that hiding their feelings and emotions, not talking about it. Love was constantly around people there to help, such as personal trainers, nutritionists, and coaches, but no one to help with mental illness, which is something that the NBA and every professional athlete needs. Kevin Love went on his own to get some help and was the best choice of his life. It was somewhere where he could have a judge-free zone. Kevin Love wants people to know that everyone goes through something we'll never be able to see. Not everyone is fortunate enough to overcome this strong battle. One college athlete at the University of Pennsylvania is Madison Holleran. Holleran was a track athlete at the University of Pennsylvania who ended her life before it really got started. According to Holleran's Instagram, one would really ever know she was struggling with depression. Towards the end of her life is when she started to have mood changes. She was no longer smiling, talking to friends, talking to family, just more distant than she ever was. She no longer had the strength to live. She had lost all love for the sport, especially love for the school, University of Pennsylvania. Holleran decided after the next 5 months she would transfer and run track somewhere else, like her sister ended up doing. She left. But that's easier said than done. And on January 17, 2014, Madison Holleran decided to drive up to the top of the parking garage and end her suffering. Unlike a physical injury, mental illness is not something one can see. Physical injuries can lead to depression as well, though. One of those injuries is called CTE. CTE, or also chronic traumatic encephalopathy, is a trauma that comes from many concussions and repeated blows to the head. CTE can only be diagnosed in an autopsy after a person has died. Those who unknowingly have CTE are more likely to make rash decisions which can lead to one ending their life or hurting others. Javon Belcher, who is a former Kansas City Chiefs player, at the age of 25 decided to kill his girlfriend and moments later drive to the stadium himself and end his own life. In his autopsy, they found a sign of CTE, which could explain some of the rash decisions he made and depression he also was going through. CTE is quite uncommon in anything, but more common in sports that are contact. It can come anytime in someone's life. Not as after the injury, it can happen 5 or 10 years later. This is something that cannot be played around with, and head injuries are starting to be taken a whole lot more serious. It is much deeper than one thinks. Although there are many people who love to see athletes down, there are still a few who want to see them succeed on and off the field or court, whatever the sport you play. People who have never played at the high level do not understand the actual stress, pressure, and just overall mindset that comes with having to be an athlete. Athletes need to ignore the stigma and continue to share their stories, whether they get called weak or not. It doesn't matter. Their mental and physical health is what's important. Thank you.